Hello friends! So we're going to go ahead and start this tutorial off with the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Foundation Stick. Yes, I'm aware this color does not match my skin, but you should see how my face does not match my body. We're going to be using this Morphe gunmetal brush to buff it into my face. This brush was actually part of a limited edition collection, so I don't believe it actually has a name, but if you were to get that collection, obviously it is in it. Then, once we get all of that nice and buffed in, I'm going to be taking the NYX, I believe it's under eye color corrector, like concealer thingy, and I'm going to place that underneath of my eye. Once again, I realize this color is a little bit too dark, but it gets the job done, and that's really all I care about. And to buff that into the skin, I'm going to be using the L'Oreal Beauty Sponge. This thing is such a dupe for the Beauty Blender, like, it's awesome. So if you can get your hands on one, I definitely suggest doing so. It is worth the like $8 that you have to pay for it. Concealing, we are using the Maybelline Better Skin concealer. This concealer is a great drugstore alternative to some of the higher end brands, but me personally, I still prefer the Tarte Shape Tape concealer. And then to buff it in, we're going to be using that same L'Oreal Beauty Blender. Splendid! Now that we're nice and buffed in, I'm going to be using MAC's Pro Emphasize powder. And I'm really sorry if you hear crunching in the background. My dogs are going to town on Bones, but they're behaving, and that's all I care about. Stuff your face with popcorn, Morgan. That's the way to do it. You go, girl. Oh, yeah. Keep going. Alright, so to set the rest of my face, I'm using the Coty Airspun Translucent Powder. This stuff is awesome! Definitely a great drugstore dupe for, like, the Laura Mercier powder. Excuse me, Lord. Then using this Urban Decay Naked like foundation powder, which I'm really not the biggest fan of, but it's all I have right now. I'm going to bring color back to my face. Alright friends, so to bake underneath of the eyes, I'm putting a little bit of this Laura Mercier powder. I'm going to pretend to do my brows, do a little I Dream of Jeannie, and ta-da! They're all done. So, going into the Naked Smokey palette, I am grabbing the shade 13 and buffing it all over my lid area. Really no rhyme or reason, just get that baby everywhere. Okay, so now that we've got that buffed all over the place, I'm going in with the shade Combust. Kind of doing the same thing, really no rhyme or reason here, but I am focusing a little bit more in the crease area, trying to build up that transition shade. I believe I'm using a Morphe, like big fluffy blending brush, but really any big brush will do. And I went back to the Naked 2 palette to grab this transition shade. I really don't remember what it's called. I'll look it up for y'all, don't you worry. But I needed something a little bit darker that the Naked Smoky palette just didn't provide. Then we're going with the star of the show, guys. Okay, so this is a Morphe like angled brush, and what I'm going to do is dip it into the Laura Mercier powder and apply it to the corners of my eyes, acting kind of like tape would if we were actually to apply tape down to do this smoky cat eye. I swear to you, this is so much better because just the thought of putting tape on my face literally gives me like the creepiest like crawly feeling. I can't even handle myself. Like the anxiety that it brings is just unnatural. And I'm also going to put a little bit more underneath of my eyes just to catch any fallout so we can easily dust it away. Going back to the Smoky palette, I'm using the shade Whiskey in a more dense fluffy brush and mainly focusing that on the crease and the outer corner area. Don't worry, you can go to town. That's what the translucent powder is there for, to make sure we don't color outside of the lines. So just make sure to blend that really well, buff it in, and just keep adding color to your liking. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that I had to cut out here because if I didn't, it would take 10 years. But just keep adding color until you like the pigmentation that you're getting. And then once again, just go in with a big fluffy brush and make sure everything is blended seamlessly. Then going in with the shade Password, I'm kind of doing the exact same thing that I did with that Whiskey shade. Just adding color, blending, adding more color until I like the pigmentation that it's giving and I like the way that it's looking. Okay, so now going in with the shade Dirty Sweet, I am actually placing that in like the corner lid area of my eye to try to bring back a little bit of color so that it doesn't look so dark. But what you'll see is what I end up doing is actually adding another shade on top of it. I'm clearly proud of myself. But I'm going to be adding the shade High on top of it because I just didn't think it was light enough. And I'm just using like a flat shader brush to do that. Then I'm going back in with the same brush that I used to put Password and Whiskey on with, not adding any more product to the brush, just using what was already on there to make sure that the crease and whatnot, oh dear God, Morgan, just to make sure that the crease and everything has plenty of pigment. Then I'm going back in with the shade 13, I'm just highlighting my brows, really nothing big here. And then I decided to take the shade High as well to bring like a little bit of shimmer, a little bit of sparkle to the brow as well. Okay, so dust away all of that powder. We do not need it any longer. Oh, that's such a satisfying thing. Like, look how sharp that is. Yes. I'm clearly proud of myself. But look at that. Like, it's awesome. Okay, so going in with Kat Von D's tattoo liner, I'm going to do kind of like a small but sharp cat like wing. I don't really know what cats have to do with that, but anyway, we're just going to be doing a wing liner. I'm only going to show you one eyeball because seriously, like after you've seen one eyeball, you can imagine I do the exact same thing to the other eyeball. It's not rocket science, people. It's not rocket science. Okay, so now time for lashes. I'm clearly curling my lashes and then going to be using this Stila mascara that I got. It was just a travel version and honestly I hated it, so I'll probably never use it again, but it did the job for this tutorial. I'm going to be putting false lashes on anyway, so it really doesn't even matter. So the lashes I'm going to be putting on are these ones, I think they're called Vixen from Social Eyes. They were just a brand that I found off of Amazon for super cheap. Not the greatest lash, but they're alright. I mean, I've got them, right? So I may as well use them. And I wanted to be able to show off the smoky eye underneath. And then I just used the House of Lashes lash glue to adhere them, and then obviously these terrifying looking tweezers to try not to poke myself in the eye and apply them to my lids. Okay, so now time to bronze the face because we're looking a little flat here. So we're using this Urban Decay, I believe it's called the Beach Bronzer? I'm not sure, I'll figure it out, don't you fret. But I'm just going to be using that to bronze up the face, provide a little bit of color, try to match the rest of my body. You know the drill. You know how that goes. Don't forget to snatch the nose. We have to look like we had a rhinoplasty yesterday, people. I'm just using this little Morphe brush to get the job done, but really any fluffy brush will do. I'm feeling it, feeling that rhinoplasty. Then I'm just using any like dual fiber stippling brush to blend everything into the skin, make it look a little bit more natural. I'm going to use that word loosely. So then I'm using this Tarte bronzer, I think it is. Yeah, the Tarte Amazonian Clay bronzer. I believe it's in the shade Captivating, but once again, don't you fret, I'll put it down below. And I'm using another Morphe limited edition gunmetal brush to apply it to my cheekbones. Then once again, we're going to be using that same stippling brush to blend it into the skin. Now my favorite, highlighting. I am using the Estee Lauder Heat Wave that just came out. Hi, it's gorgeous. Okay, if you disagree, I really don't care. No, but for real though, if you haven't tried this, it is amazeballs. Such a pretty like golden sunny highlight. I can't get enough. I'll just cake my face in it. Just give me a few minutes, okay? Alrighty kiddos, now it's time for the under eye. Taking the shade Combust on a Morphe pencil brush, I'm just going to lightly place it underneath of my eye to kind of provide almost like a transition shade underneath of there. I don't want it to be too crazy dark, but I also want to give a little bit of base color so it looks like we got a little something something going on. So taking the shade Dirty Sweet, I'm going to put that in the corner of my eye, but of course it's not going to be bright enough, so I'm going to be taking the Estee Lauder Heat Wave and placing that in there as well. And then of course I have to put it on my brow bone as well because, I mean, why not, right? So then, once we get all of that on there, I'm going to be taking this Clinique what do you call it, eyeliner and lining my eyes. And then just taking the darkest shade in the palette to kind of line the underneath of my eyes as well to give it that super smoky look. Then going in with that same Stila mascara that I kind of secretly hate, just doing my lower lashes and filling in the upper ones to make them look more natural. Going in with this Wet n Wild gel lip liner, which are my favorites, by the way. I'll put the name down below. Just filling in my lippies. Then at this point, you're basically done. So don't forget to set that mug that you worked so hard on with the Urban Decay All Nighter Setting Spray. Make sure you basically take a shower. And that's really it, kiddos. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.